Pickle Peeps, thank you for joining me for another TLDR video. I'm your host, Voodoo Pickles, and today we're going to be talking about Ring Shout. Ring Shout was written by I cannot pronounce this name. I am so sorry. It has all of the little accents on it. Dejely Clark. This is an alternate history where the movie The Birth of a Nation in 1915 caused monsters to erupt in people, and those monsters and people created the Ku Klux Klan. And during this time, the races were segregated, and they are the Ku Klux Klan monsters. They call them the Ku Kluxes, are hunting down people of color, and the people of color, while still around, they have their own settlements set up. They have pretty much two parallel societies that are going on in this alternate history. And we follow our main character, Maurice, and she has a group of women that she hunts down Ku Kluxes with. And she uses a special sword given by three women who embody the maiden, the mother, and the crone. I don't know what that's called, but they embody them, and she calls them the aunties. And her sword is magical, and it gets its magic from slaves and the suffering of black people that were previously, and they just embody this sword. It glows and everything, and it's one of the only weapons that can kill the Ku Kluxes, other than like completely blowing them up. And she and her team routinely go out to kill the monsters, and they have a base camp with an older woman who creates bootleg alcohol, and that's how they fund their camp, is through this bootleg alcohol. And there's a Cherokee woman who is a doctor, and she needs corpses of the Ku Kluxes so she can do autopsies on them, kind of figure out how they go, how to kill them better. And so that's what they do. And Maurice has a dream about a man named Butcher Clyde. He is a big guy, and he has little mouths all over his body, and they all sing. Like, each of the mouths open up and they sing. And he, in her dream, is chopping up a human body, and he turned around and he was like, not expecting her to seek him out. And when she wakes up, she goes to the aunties, and the aunties are in a separate realm of this giant tree, and there's a little cottage. It's just a whole separate, like, dreamlike realm. And she asks them about the butcher. They get really upset and annoyed, and they're like, you need to stay away from the butcher. And she's like, well, why? And they won't tell her. And this is one of the times where they're just completely tight-lipped on something, and that really bugs her. So she decides she's going to go find him in the real world. And she does. She finds him in a local town full of white people, and he opened up a butcher shop. And she goes into this butcher shop, and she sees all of these people eating like hot dogs and burgers and all of this meat stuff, and it looks like the meat is squirming, and it makes her really nauseous. And then he comes out and he talks with her. He sits down and he's like, hey, how you doing? I can't believe you came out to seek me. And he tells her that the aunties are not telling her the whole truth. They're keeping a lot of information from her. She doesn't like that. And if she was to work with him, he could give her all the information that she's looking for. And she's just like, no. And so he tells her, like, all right, well, since you visited me, I'm going to visit you. And she leaves, and before her and her team can get back to their settlement, he attacks with a bunch of Ku Kluxes to the local, like, tavern, pub, bar, dance hall place that's near their settlement, I guess. And the person who runs that is a guy that she doesn't call him her boyfriend or her partner or anything. He's just kind of the guy who she is sleeping with, and she's thinking about maybe she could have a relationship with him, but she's not sure. But she has some feelings for him, and he runs that place, and she sees that it's under attack. Her and her team, they run in. Half of it's on fire. There's chaos. They're trying to save as many people as they can, kill as many monsters as they can. And during this, one of her team is killed, saving her. and she realizes that the man that she has feelings for, and as well as like a handful of others, were kidnapped. They weren't killed, they were kidnapped. And so after this, everybody is upset, everybody's sad, and she decides that she is going to hunt him down. And he, on the other side, is going to be doing a re-showing of A Birth of a Nation on the side of a mountain against huge boulders. So that's what he's planning on doing. They find out that's what he's planning on doing, and she decides, let's go get him. Let's go get him. They gather up as many people as they can, but they realize they don't have enough people to take on all of the people that are going to be there, as well as the Ku Kluxes, as well as Butcher. So she goes to the aunties, and they decide that she's going to call on the night doctors. The night doctors are a legend that is passed from slave colony to slave colony about these creatures who kidnap slaves and they are never seen again. Sometimes you can hear them screaming, but they're never really seen again. And she thinks they're a story that's been made up. The aunties let her know that no, they're for realsies. And she decides she's going to go appeal to them and ask them for their help. She gets to go to their dimension, and she goes into it, and she appeals to them through a doctor, a human doctor who wasn't born yet. Like, in his time, he went to go find the night doctors, and then he went to go help the night doctors do what they're doing. But he is born, I think, like 20 years after her time currently that she's aware of. And they say that they'll help her if she gives them something. So the night doctors feed on pain and trauma. And so they make her relive her trauma so they can feed on it. And her trauma was when she was a little girl, her family was killed. Her family was killed, and while her parents hid her, a bunch of people came and they killed her family, and then she found their bodies, and she stayed with their bodies until somebody realized that she was there, and they took her to the camp that she now lives at. So that was her trauma, and they fed off of it, and then they kick her out of the realm. So after they kick her out of the realm, she doesn't know if they're going to help or not. She really hopes that they will, but her team and a bunch of the people from the camp are headed to the mountain to go attack and save the people that were kidnapped there, hopefully stop the movie from showing. By the time they get there, the movie is already showing, and Butcher calls her up because he can sense that she is there. She goes up there with her right hand person named Chef, who's like a explosion specialist type person, and they go up and they're standing there. While they walk up to the stage, they realize that all the white people that are there to go watch this movie are in this weird type of trance. And they're not attacking her, they're not saying anything, and she's like, they're just in this weird trance. So she gets up on the stage, and Butcher tells her that the aunties lied to her and that she is in fact their champion. As in, well, his champion and not their champion. And she's like, what do you mean? And she figures that he's going to offer to bring back her family and everything. And he offers her instead the power to seek vengeance on all white people. He says that the person he works for, the entity that he works for that is called the Cyclops, and the Ku Kluxes are actually there to feed on hate, and that they were attached to the white people because the white people had a bunch of hate, so they fed on them. But they said that now that they've, I guess, had their fill of the hate, that they want to attach to her and switch sides and be a part of her team because her people have a righteous hate, and that is more powerful than the other type of hate. So he offers to switch sides and attack the white people on her behalf and her people's behalf, as long as she will become his champion. And he says that the aunties realized this, and they were trying to take her away from him and his entity so that like they were trying to take her away from him and his entity, but in doing so conditioned her to be a better champion for him. And she thinks about it and she's really tempted to do it, but she decides not to because he told her all humans are meat, regardless of size, regardless of skin color. They are all meat to them. So she declines. And when she declines, he gets upset and but the movie's already playing and the people start morphing and changing and they all start gathering together into this giant body horror mush thing, which starts to create the Cyclops. So what he was doing was he was summoning the deity or the entity that he serves, the Cyclops, into this realm. As it starts going through, they try to fight it off. They're trying to kill as many things as they can. What they're doing isn't working. And right before they are killed, the Night Doctors show up. And they show up and they use their giant hooks and they take the Cyclops into their realm. When this happens, Butcher gets so upset. He is so just angry at her that he goes to attack her. She and him fight, as well as the human doctor that serves the Night Doctors, and she ends up decapitating him. And the doctor that's helping the Night Doctors takes the guy's head and then he leaves with the Night Doctors back into their realm. And when this happens, all of the people are kind of coming out of their trance, except they're all turned into, well, not all of them, most of them are turned into Ku Kluxes. And so her team and the people that are finally showing up are from the rest of the army, because she went ahead, her and Chef went ahead of them, are trying to fight off the Ku Kluxes, but there's too many of them. So they start to lose, and right before they're all killed, the time freezes. And when it freezes, the spirits that were killed by Ku Kluxes, the ones that want to, it's very clear that there's some that wanted to, there's some that didn't want to. The ones that wanted to came back to the human realm to fight on behalf of the people to kill the Ku Kluxes. And she gets like an inspiring message from her family. They're like, yeah, well, they're still there. They love you. They're proud of you. And the spirits kill the Ku Kluxes. And then time goes back and they won, and they're really excited. They're really happy. They go back to their settlement. They celebrate. And after the celebration, Maurice goes to the aunties and they apologize for not being as forward with her. And they offer her the opportunity to be their champion. And they said, there'll be more things that you'll need to go up against. And we need to make sure that you're trained. But would you want to do this? And she says, yes. And that's the story of Ring Shout. Is it a totes or nope? I'm not sure. I rated this a 3.5 out of 5, so I think it'd be more of a totes. It's an interesting story. I like how it is an alternate history. It did feel, though, as if it didn't use the monstery type of it, like the entities and everything that were in here. There was a lot of different entities, and I really wish that they would be able to dive more into that. And they kept seeming that they were trying to dive more into the entities, but then they pull back to just talk to you about the people and their struggles, which I understand their struggles. I know their struggles. I get it. It kind of beats you over the head with their struggles and how they're all really upset and they're struggling so hard always at all times, and they just try and get that one thing that makes them happy, which is usually going to the dance hall and hanging out. And I'm like, I understand that. I get that. But you're introducing some of these weird creatures. You have a man who's covered in tiny mouths, and when he sings, it causes people to, like, the vibrations cause people to get dizzy and stop moving and stuff. And like, tell me more about that. What is the Cyclops? Where did that thing come from? Like, explain more of this to me. The Night Doctors were a very interesting thing, and I was thinking them more like the Cenobite type things, but not really. And it doesn't really explain any of this. Then you have the time traveling aspect. I'm like, I would like to know more about that. The Ku Kluxes, I'm like, you can tell me more of what they are. So I really wanted more of the the monstery and the entity type information, but it kept teasing me with that and then pulling back, and it didn't feel that there was a lot of stakes. It was very high stakes. Like, you put it, like, looking at my notes, I'm like, yeah, it was a lot of high stakes. Like, the whole world was at stake here, but it never felt like they were actually going to lose. It never felt like there was actually a struggle for what was going to happen. It made me think that there was going to be, but it also was like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine. Like, and on the fight on the mountain, when things were starting to get tense and I was getting interested, and they're like, oh, don't worry about that. No, nobody was actually in real danger. It's okay. We have this army that's coming up there. The night doctors show up over there. The spirits just come back and freeze time. And I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't really feel like the stakes were really high in it. But it was an interesting book. It was very, very interesting. It's listed as historical horror, so I rated it as 3.5 out of 5. It's a totes from me. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, afternoon, whatever it is where you are. And I'll hopefully talk to you guys later. Bye.